Ever since I can remember, my mom has always had a garden. And her mother, my popo, had a garden. While I don't even own a tiny plot of land to my name, I think I've always kept a garden in my own millennial way. It started with a baby of my uncle's spider plant, and over the years it's blossomed into quite the infestation. So let me introduce you to my little and big green friends.
This is that one.
Since I mentioned it before, the first plant I'm going to start with is my spider plant. Not only are spider plants a mild hallucinogen for cats, but they also offshoot these tiny little spider plant babies, which you can give to friends and family. And next to my spider plant is a tiny pothos propagation. Next on the shelf above the sofa are my pink plants. So the Fittonia, this lilac Gigantia, and I think the last one is called Moses in the Cradle. At the very end of the shelf is a marble and jade pothos, right next to a Gigantia that was propagated from a mama plant back in New Orleans. On the other side of my sofa is one of my snake plants. I really love the striking yellow edges on this one, as well as my Monstera deliciosa and a bird of paradise that I actually bought from a guy on the sidewalk for $30. I'm really proud of my Monstera deliciosa in particular because they've recently developed some tiny inner fenestrations. Next up, hanging in my window, is the string of hearts, which is also very fond of sunlight and has grown very long since I first bought it. Below my string of hearts is a jade plant that I propagated from a mama plant back in SF and made the road trip with me to New York when I moved. To the right of that is a baby bird of paradise that had started growing up in the same pot as my big bird of paradise. And to the right of that is a propagation of my string of hearts. Moving towards the center of the room on my glass coffee table is my neon green pothos, next to my print of orange, which actually has a little orange leaf coming in, as well as my Stromanthia triostar, which I've had to troubleshoot with, but I think we've gone into a nice groove at this distance from the window. On the floor by my other living room window is my Philodendron Gigantium, which I bought in Virginia. I kind of hope it gets really, really big, but then I'll probably run out of floor space if it does. Granting all of my big money wishes is my money tree, next to a variegated Schefflera. Close by is my Hoya compacta carnosa, or Hindu root. And across from that is a geranium in a pot that a former co-worker gave me. It didn't fit into his decor. Next up are two of my pride and joys, my Fiddly Fig Twins. They've both grown so much since I moved to this south-facing apartment. They originally came in the same pot, but after they made the road trip with me from California, I decided to give them their own planters. Above the Fiddly Fig Twins is a Brazil philodendron who used to have a weak root system when I bought it, but has really come along since then. On my arting desk is a begonia of some kind. Maybe you have a better idea of what it is than I do. And on the other side of the desk is my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, flanked by a very tall snake plant boy. Looks like it's got some new growth too. Moving on to my non-functional fireplace, we have a philodendron. This one is actually a propagation of the oldest plant I own, I think that one is 8 years old by now. Next to that is a water propagation of my big monstera. Further across the mantelpiece is a ZZ plant, who also made the journey from California with me. Don't worry, all of the plants that traveled with me were smaller 2 years ago, so they fit in my front seat. Next to that is my Syngonium, who I'm kind of struggling with right now. So sorry, Syngonium. I feel for you. Below the mantelpiece is my peace lily Domino, whose variegation isn't quite showing up right now, I think because she's too far from the window. Right above the entrance to my very spacious kitchen is one of my golden Pothos babes. She's going through some stuff right now. On my dining room table are the rest of my calatheas, a rattlesnake, and a lemon lime maranta, as well as the marble queen Pothos. In addition to that, I usually keep a jar of various propagations for my own plant projects, as well as little somethings to give away to friends. Rounding out the plants in my studio is this hanging planter of a Monstera Addisonii, who's reaching for contact with this staked Pothos that I am very proud of. I originally started this one from just a few cuttings of my dad's papa plant, and I've staked it to grow upwards, hoping its leaves would grow bigger. While they're nowhere near the size of a giant Pothos' leaves, it did manage to get a little bigger. That pretty much sums up all of my studio houseplants. My dream is to one day create a lush jungle for Ciao to explore and hide in, but to be honest, I'm not sure she shares my zeal for green things. Unless we're talking about catnip. What did you think? Have you thought about making some new photosynthesizing friends? Or do you have a story about the ones already in your life? If so, I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.
Hey,
Yeah?
what did the spider plant do after college?
I don't know. What'd it do?
It became a web designer.